Sportsman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app and streaming on YouTube at the Team 980. Ready to go on this, another Victory Monday where, Anthony, are we ready to go? We got the fancy open. We got the fancy introduction over there. I can try to get it up over here. You got it? We're good to go? All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is a Monday. The Commanders played yesterday, which means it is time for First and 10.
It's time to get the breakdown started. 1, 2, 3. First up, 10 observations.
Just took his guy and just boom, put it right on the ground.
It's First and 10.
We go immediately into
Number 1.
the Commanders are a mature and resilient football team, and that will win you games in the NFL. There is no sugarcoating the start of yesterday's game. That was ugly. They gave up big plays. They had coverage busts. They had miscommunications. Offensively, they squandered opportunities. Specifically, their long snapper squandered an opportunity, but there was other misses from the offensive players as well. They gave up pressures. They gave up sacks. They is some offensive line, some Sam Howell. You had mistakes all over the field. But as I said for number one last week, football games are 60 minutes. You just keep playing, and eventually things will turn. And that's where the maturity and the resilience comes in. The resilience is the just keep playing part. Just figure out a way to not start fighting each other, to keep rowing the boat proverbially in the right direction. Excellent. Good. Check. Resiliency. But the maturity is to trust what you're doing and that your coaches will put you in the opportunity or give you the opportunities to make plays and to continue to execute, to not panic. That comes from maturity, which is interesting. And Logan made this point on the post-game show yesterday. I thought it was really good, is that a lot of times you look to leaders that have been there before. And, you know, B-Mitch actually said this. B-Mitch started the analogy. Logan picked it up on the Commanders postgame show. And B-Mitch is like, you know, when the plane starts wavering a little bit, you look to the flight attendants. And they have a calmness about them. And if they panic, then you might need to panic. But the reason they don't panic is because they've done this before. They've been through it. Well, the funny thing about the Commanders is their flight attendant, if you will, Sam Howell, has not been there before. He just is good anyway. He never loses his mind anyway. And that is pretty special. And so far through 2 weeks where they've had to fight adversity, which is something you will see almost every week in the NFL, they've fought through it. They've been mature, they've been resilient, and thus they are 2-0.
Number 2.
Sam Howell. Very, very good. Still plenty of room to grow. It is a wacky bit here that he threw for 299 yards yesterday, and I could do an hour today on the areas where he needs to improve. That is good, and this is this constant balance of growth and where is he right now. It's why Sam Howell is worth it right now, because he's good enough to be better than Jacoby Brissett, while also going, wow, dude, if you would clean up X, Y, and Z, you could make your life a lot easier. But the good stuff with him is just next level. I mean, it starts really... I mean, obviously the game turns, as we'll talk about it in a second, on the Jamin Davis forced fumble, right? But they come down, and they have a fourth down in the red zone, and he drills a ball to Logan Thomas. Now, unfortunately, Logan Thomas is on the receiving end of a dirty and somehow not being suspended hit by Kareem Jackson. Nikki Javala of the Post reporting a little bit earlier that Jackson will not be punished for that in terms of a suspension, which is preposterous, and I don't want to lose my train of thought on Sam, but that's ridiculous. But it's a great throw, and obviously a fantastic catch, that gets them a touchdown. Then, to pull them even closer by halftime and ensure that the momentum is fully headed their direction, they drive again at the end of the first half for the second straight week, and he delivers a honey hole shot. Honey hole is the area, or is a term that a lot of folks in the NFL and football in general use to describe the area between 15 and let's call it 22 yards up the sideline against cover 2. In cover 2, there's a flat defender that plays up close to the line of scrimmage by the sideline, and then one of the cover 2 safeties over top. And there's kind of this sweet spot area in between that you can typically squeeze a ball into if you throw with enough velocity and anticipation. And he sees Justin Simmons, the safety, the all-pro safety from Denver, playing too far off. I actually don't know if it was a true cover 2 honey hole. If I'm remembering correctly, he's playing as a single high, but the same kind of concept where he's got this mid-level area that he's got to be perfect into, and he drills John Bates and picks up a huge chunk play. They ultimately get the field goal, go into the half, and that's all she wrote. The comeback is full-fledged on at that point. That's kind of the middle of the 32-3 run. They ultimately survive in the end, but again, we'll get there. That throw is insane. The throw to McLaurin is chef's kiss, perfect, as good as it gets. There's a bunch of other stuff that he does. It's really good. But again, like, the room to grow is there too. The way he uses his feet to move around the pocket is good. The way he moves his feet in the pocket, not always the best. Getting the timing and the rhythm of the dropbacks right. And there's certain throws where he hangs on to it a bit too long. And if he could just get the ball out now, they're easier completions. And so these are the things that they're watching on tape. These are the things you expect a young quarterback to have room to grow with. And these are the things that over the course of time, he will continue to get better and better and better at. And the ceiling for this kid is outrageously high. How long is it going to take for him to get there? I don't know. But I think more importantly for the imminent analysis here, he's real good right now. And that's going to fluctuate week to week, but he didn't play near close to a perfect game yesterday, and he had a very good completion percentage for 299 yards and some scores. Take that every day. Sam Howell, 3-0 as a starter going back to the Dallas game last year.
Number 3.
Terry McLaurin, good at football. There is a reason that this guy is highly paid and highly rated. Maybe underrated in the eyes of many. A bit of a secret here in Washington, but man, nobody that flips off on the tape is gonna say anything but great stuff about Terry. Not only did he have 5 targets yesterday, so a little bit higher usage than the week before, but he also draws a PI on Pat Surtain II. Surtain has been perfect for 2 years, it feels like. Not actually, but I mean, he's to stress him the way Terry stressed him at times yesterday is really impressive. And then the touchdown, man, the trust that Sam has in the throw and in Terry to go get it. Contested ball, he just beats 3 guys, and it's a special play. I loved, though, I think on a more macro level, it felt like he impacted the game. And the pressure he puts on defenses opens up a lot of other stuff. And when Bieniemy got rolling from a play calling standpoint later in that game, it's in part because you have to account for him on such a high level at all times. Otherwise, he winds up in the end zone. So there was a concerted effort to get him the ball early. They took their deep shots. They called the right shots in the strike zone, and that's how you wind up with the McLaurin touchdown. Really phenomenal job yesterday by EB using him and by Terry to just keep at it after, I would say, a less impactful week 1.
Number 4.
Our 1st and 10 continues with number 4. First segment, 10 observations from a 35-33 Commanders win. How about the running backs yesterday? And I am going to go running backs here because while it would be very easy and almost appropriate to just single out Brian Robinson, who ran like a man possessed, ran like we knew he was capable, with great vision, with great power, with anger. Antonio Gibson also has 2 really big plays yesterday, including that screen as things started to feel like, are they going to swing back? Got a 3rd down situation. And I don't know where the hell the Broncos were on that. It's an obvious screen situation. And EB just schemes it up. I mean, he owns Vance Joseph, man. That's no way to treat your childhood friend. And he did it again after doing it all those years in Kansas City and every other time that they've matched up seemingly in their NFL careers. Bieniemy's just been ridiculous, but they get Gibson out in space and he shows the burst. He almost scores on the play. The contact balance, the speed, the acceleration, the explosiveness, the hands. He's so important to this team reaching the ceiling. And while Robinson, I think, can get, obviously a high workload, handle it, be essential to this offense staying on schedule, Gibson's big playability is going to be really important, and I'm glad that AG felt involved in that game after the fumble in week 1 because I was a little scared he was going to get put on the bench. And I do think for a team that threw the ball 30 times in the first half, there are even more carries available. So, Chris Rodriguez, stay ready. Your time will come, young man.
Number 5.
The turning point in the game. Jamin Davis causes a fumble, and yup, it was a face mask. Yup, they missed it. Sucks to be on the wrong end of calls sometimes, Broncos fans. You'll get one later in the season. It'll even out. Broncos looked like they were just going to start driving again. The defense literally had not stopped them at all. They were imposing their will. They were getting big, explosive plays. And sometimes it just takes someone to make a play. And Rivera in the locker room after the game talked about this. He said, for the first quarter and a half, a lot of guys played. A lot of y'all played like you were waiting for someone else to make the play. Go be the playmaker. And Jamin Davis was the playmaker. He goes, he chases Russ down, the speed that he has. And I'll say this too, not to get too far ahead of myself here, but there's like 3 or 4 guys on this team that do stuff that you just go, that human shouldn't be able to do that. And Chase and Montez, obviously the way they run, Duran, the way that he uses his hands and his quickness inside. I mean, John Allen plays in a way that's exceptional, but he does all the stuff you'd expect exceptionally well. I guess he's so quick and sure, but the way Payne does it and Haluk's doing it, you're just like, that doesn't make any sense. For Jamin to be as big and as strong as he is and to be able to move like that is special. And the way he runs down Russ there, makes the play, forces the fumble. They get a bit lucky in the way it bounces. It stays in bounds. Jamin scoops it up, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. Maybe it was Barton. Someone came, scoops it up. And they get the turnover, go down, get points, and good things start to happen for them. So that play, and then to take advantage of it the way they did, was spectacular. And again, the touchdown that soon follows to Logan Thomas. Kareem Jackson, if you're going to play football where you knock an opposing player out every week with a dirty hit, you shouldn't be allowed to play pro football. So I guess I'm wedging this one in as a bonus of 10 observations. The NFL not suspending Kareem Jackson is a joke. An absolute joke. Because you cannot consistently knock guys out. And he's done it on late, dirty, illegal hits 2 weeks in a row. But Jamin, playmaker, love to see it.
Number 6.
Speaking of playmakers, you want your defensive line to set the tone, especially on this team where that's your best position group. And the tone they set in the first half was, we are going to get our butts kicked today. And they got driven on the first, second, and the third drives for Denver with no resistance, no plays. And they played better, obviously, towards the end of the first half. And then they came out in the second and they said, this is enough. We've had enough. We're not doing this anymore. And it started with Daron Payne making 3 straight bona fide all-pro plays to start the second half. That was a one-man wrecking crew 3 and out. You don't see that more than 5 times a year across the whole league. I mean, he's playing at a level that you go, I don't know, is he as good as Chris Jones all of a sudden? Is he as good as, what Aaron Donald is now? Not what Aaron Donald was at his peak, because that's the best guy to ever do what Aaron Donald did. But he's doing an Aaron Donald impression, and that's a very good thing, because an Aaron Donald impression is very effective. The quick use of the hands, the speed inside, the pass rush ability, the tackles for loss. Daron has gotten to the point where he might be just as good or better than John Allen, and that's not because John Allen isn't as every bit as good as he has been the entire time. It is just Daron has continued to elevate his game and his ability to just decide it is time for me to dominate and do it is remarkable. Speaking of guys up front dominating.
Number 7.
How about the dream coming true? Chase Young, Montez Sweat come together, meet at the quarterback. It literally happened yesterday. And the way those two push the pocket, and I think we talk about how well James Smith-Williams and Casey Toohill and Efe Obada last year played in that role without Chase Young. And it's like, okay, well, if they're playing so well, what can Chase do that those guys can't? The sack Chase gets on Russell Wilson yesterday, I love James Smith-Williams as a human being. He's a great dude, and I think he's a very good football player. James does not make that play. Chase's pure athleticism and speed to collapse a pocket or to chase down a quarterback running away from him is next level stuff. And there's times where, James was able to push the pocket and the quarterback escapes, and, he might throw the ball out of bounds, and rarely do good things happen in that situation, but it's not a sack. And in that one yesterday, Russ had room to run, and he might have scored, certainly gets the first down, but the way it looked at the time of the tackle. Chase makes a shoestring sack. It's actually a negative play. So are there things to clean up for Chase? Yes. He got way too high a bunch. He was undisciplined in his rush too often for my liking, and I think for Ron Rivera's liking. But the explosiveness is there. The athleticism there is there. The knack for playmaking is there. And when it counted in the end of that game, Ian Montez made real significant plays and slowed that Denver drive way, way, way down. That should have been enough to win that game easily. Obviously, we'll get to the Hail Mary.
Number 8.
Not yet, though. First, a word on Eric Bieniemy and do not count out Jack Del Rio. EB found a rhythm yesterday, and I thought there was too much passing early. But one thing I'll say, and something I want to ask Bieniemy, either feed it to a reporter to ask who's out there, I might go out there Thursday myself and ask him, is, are you using some of these early pass plays to get information, to go into some of your spread formations, go into some of your tight formations, put different receivers in the game, do different stuff, and really make the defense play a bunch of coverage so you see what coverages you're getting and you know what to come back to later in the game? Let me front load a lot of pass play calls to get the information, to cook up the shots later in the game when I'm playing more balance, but knowing what you're going to do coverage-wise. Because that seems like it's what's happening, and he finds that balance in the second half, and just when they insert the balance, they take off. But can they do it if they don't do the pass heavy early? I don't know. 33 dropbacks to 7 rushing attempts is way too many in the first half on the pass attempt side. But it's also hard to argue with the team that scored 35 and had the long snapper not botched a snap, probably would have scored 38. Just simple make or miss difference in a kick. As for Del Rio, comes out in the second half on those plays that Daron Payne makes. They're in Cinco. He gets one-on-ones. He had a couple of really great blitz calls at times throughout the game, including one late where he zone blitzes and drops Montez out, gets Daron Payne isolated on the right tackle, Mike McGlinchey, who had a hellish day, and he just didn't know what to do with him. And Daron gets right in Russell Wilson's face. Just really exceptional use of pressure, not just when, but which pressures he's using. Del Rio, it's not his fault they blew coverage early, but it is his credit that they did not panic. And that's the other thing I want to say about Jack real quick. Jack has been there, done that, and I have no doubt he's walking down the sideline, cool as a cucumber when they're down 21-3 going, man, it's a long football game. Got to play better, but it's a long football game, and there's something to that from the demeanor of a head coach. All right, last but not least, or two last things but not least.
Number 9.
Let's talk about the bad stuff real quick and what was not a perfect game. I hate the decision by Rivera to try the 59-yard field goal. Your defense is cooking. You have the best punter in the league. Just punt the football there. And that really let Denver back into it when it should have been, hey, if you're going to beat us by driving 90 yards when we're up double digits, go ahead. But we're going to make you drive 90 yards. Hated that. And then I put the Cameron Cheeseman stuff on Rivera. Like, you've had chances. You've been asked about it. You're aware of it. You told me to my face, not that it's about me, but like you said to someone, it happened to be me, in Baltimore, if he has another bad snap in this game, we're going to have to look at it. He did. You didn't do anything about it, and it could have cost you dearly, dearly yesterday. Don't wait until the bad thing happens when you can see it coming. Don't stand in the middle of the tracks wondering what that bright light is. Get out of the way of the train. It's a long snapper, man. Just make the move. They're gonna work out some guys this week, so we'll see. And then
Number 10.
I don't need to do a long diatribe here. Hail Mary, knock it down. There's a reason you knock it down, and the key word there is not knock, it is down. You have to volleyball spike it, not literally, more volleyball block the ball down. That way it hits the ground and it doesn't pop up. Don't try to catch it. Don't try to do anything other than make sure that the ball hits the ground. Escort it nicely to the ground. Escort it meanly to the ground. Beat it up. Punch it. Whatever you got to do. Just make sure the ball does not go backwards. Just a brutal job, and it's the second one they've given up in 2 years. The one they did last year was the end of a first half, and that's something you need to work on. Not great. But winning is great. 35-33 the final. That is 1st and 10. When we get back here on the Hoffman Show, our first reactions from last night, we are, in this case, being myself and Logan Paulson, a Take Command preview for you, or not preview, a Take Command analysis hit for you next here on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, and always live as well on the Free Ops.